notice? What do you see? What do you wonder? What do you think? Was that helpful for you too?
Dang, Michael is telling you some shit.
Well, none of this little quadrant, dude. None of y'all came.
Hell yeah.
She came. He came. He came. She came. He came. He came. And then these four idiots. The four clowns. Bro, Jacob was absolutely. Now, that's your time. So, what do we see in this picture? Good, I love the hand up, then I got the hand, then I got the hand, I got the hand, and then we're going to call him Felix after that. Go ahead.
The way I characterize it was like this is like the example of what manifest destiny is.
Yeah! This is like, when I say the word manifest destiny, or the phrase, excuse me, manifest destiny, if this picture doesn't pop into your head, you're doing something wrong. So why do you say that?
Because it kind of just shows that, like in the context of America, that wherever, like you see people moving, and behind those people you see like technology, and in that sense civilization. And like if you notice the right side of the picture, where in that sense America has touched and America has gone, it's bright, whereas the rest is dark. So it's like America's bringing light.
Well done, well done, well done. I like it. That's good. I'm gonna go home, call it a day. We're gonna now. I like images that do something without doing something. Explain what I mean by that. When I look at this picture, I see movement. Do you guys agree with that? Yes. Right? Is this picture actually moving? No. No. So somehow this image, and then Daniel, you highlighted, like, you see that America's moving, even though it's a still picture, it's a still frame. This highlights movement, that America is always on the move. Do you guys agree with that up to this point, APUSH? Yeah, America's always on the move, right? Westward expansion, right? The frontier, the frontier, the frontier, the frontier. The opportunity for people who are not successful in mainstream society to move to the frontier and try new and start fresh. So we see movement. He also highlights another really good point of the idea of light to dark. Right, we looked at that as America is spreading out westward, it is bringing light. How is it bringing light? All right, let's talk about what she's carrying. Not the book. The book's important. But she's bringing rope. Maybe rope.
Wires.
Telegraph wires. So she's bringing technology. And not just technology, but communication. Okay. What else do you see up here and wonder like how this all fits in? All right, so go ahead.
I was just going to say, since you said to like describe what you see in the picture, that's Lady Liberty leading the settlers to America. Wasn't that? I think probably not.
Eventually, that's part of it. That's going to actually make this process happen faster. Absolutely. Good. We have Lady Liberty. All right. What else?
I think the book could be some type of nudge to her, like spreading out the ideology that they carry.
You gotta use text to spread some ideology. I don't disagree with that at all. It's very nice. What else is coming west with her? Trains. Train. Steamboats. Wagon trains of people that are moving west, settlers that are spreading out in the most American dream-esque way possible. Put your family in a wagon and move on west. What else is spreading out? Dogs. I mean, if you want to call these things dogs, you can. You have to they're actually called horses. They're actually called horses.
That's dark corner. Bottom left. There's two.
Oh yeah, that's a dog.
Maybe your picture's better than mine. There are dogs. There's always dogs. Wow, check me out. This was an accidental dog. Good. What else is spreading out westward, though? Felix, what else is spreading out westward, sir? Farmers! Yes! Right? Like, look down here. They are, I know this seems this seems like elementary and simple to you, but they're putting up fences. They're putting up fences, which means they are taming the land. They are controlling the land, which is a American idea, right? The yeomanry is present in this picture as they are spreading westward. They're using livestock. They're plowing. They're developing the land. Yes?
I think like one thing that's not really noticeable is like I think in the dark right there they're natives.
Ah, it's very noticeable and very important. In the dark, there are natives. And which way are the natives going?
Savages.
Yeah, I think it's definitely implied there. Your whole light and dark situation, that they are in the dark. They are in the undeveloped. They are in the wilderness, so to speak, of the undeveloped West. And they're being pushed out by what? By white progress. They're being pushed out by white progress. Agreed? Now, how does Lady Liberty look?
Beautiful.
What'd you say? Beautiful? You got a type? 80-foot white ladies? Go back to that word. That's what I was looking for. She looks angelic. Almost like angel here. Also angelic. And what is the implication there? That the fact that she looks angelic and then she's doing what she's doing. What is the artist implying? That God has ordained this to happen. So we're bringing technology, we're bringing people, we're bringing farmers, we're bringing settlement, we're bringing civilization, we're bringing communication, we're bringing dogs. Absolutely, we're bringing all these things. So this image is a perfect example of the ideology of manifest destiny. That every single time you think about this, manifest destiny, this picture better pop right into your head. Remember last year's SAQ, Josue?
Mm-hmm.
On the West?
Yes, sir. Quick dose.
Quick dose. Imagine not getting a 5. Imagine.
Tough.
Now, this phrase, manifest destiny, we already identified as a class and the ideology has always been there. The phrase is actually coined or put onto paper for the first time by a newspaper editor named John L. Sullivan in 1845. So right before the Mexican-American War starts, I mean, it's not surprising that this is the timing it takes place in. He's the first person to put this idea of manifest destiny on paper. Good job, John L. Sullivan. Now I'm going to have you guys read it, a very short little excerpt that he has there, and tell me on what grounds does he argue in favor of expansion? How does he justify this idea that America should expand westward? Take 2 to read it, respond please on your own, and then I'll let you talk about it as with your partner. One minute left. I need answers. I need everybody in this room to put pen to paper and answer this question. Cite your evidence. How do you know? What does he have to say? How does he justify or argue in favor of Westward Expansion? John L. O'Sullivan. You'll read a good quote from him later too. It's going to be wild. He is, as I like to call, a racist. What do we get to Calhoun?
George Wallace?
or the Calvin argument against the war.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna do that today. All right, take a minute, talk to your partner. What are the ways he justifies Westward expansion? How does he say it's okay that it is America's expansion? Go.
The texts are always the best.
Victor, how much are you trying to write?
It's basically just principles of government, like liberty, because they have like
Untitled Chapter. Whenever, no rush.
That helps so much, right? They put it
All right, stop you guys there. So how does he justify it? Let me hear from Arieli. Talk to me, friend. How does he justify Western expansion? Cool. Yeah, we're bringing liberty, we're bringing self-government, we're bringing republicanism. Good for us. Now, the thing that always strikes me when I look at this text is actually the last line. Talk to me, Heather.
I think what I assumed from that is that he was somehow mentioning that it's a natural right.
Yeah.
He mentioned the growth of the tree and the space, the air. And that it's a principle, like it's bound to happen. It was bound to happen.
Agreed. Question for you guys. You guys are all science students. How do trees breathe? I didn't say what do they breathe. I said how do they breathe? Cellular respiration, photosynthesis. Sure, all that fun stuff. Now, do trees choose to breathe? No. I don't know. Have you asked them? Do trees have to make a choice in order to breathe?
No.
Yeah.
It's involuntary.
It's involuntary. How about you guys? Do you guys choose to breathe?
No.
So none of them don't. But is there anything in the world that can keep a tree from absorbing CO2?
Yeah. Inside a plastic bag.
Just cut it down.
There we go. Then the tree would die. So as the tree is living in nature, is there anything that can keep a tree from taking on CO2?
No.
No.
Plastic bag.
Besides plastic bags. Plastic's bad.
Cutting it down.
Cutting it down. All right, Sandberg. How about until you get more than 4 out of 9 of your SAQs, you shut up.
Dang.
Now, moral of the story, is there anything that can keep a tree from absorbing the air? No. So he's going to make this analogy that America has just as much right to spread out as trees have to air, which is wild. It is right such as that of the tree to the space of air and the earth suitable for the full expansion of its principle and destiny of growth. That not only does America have the right to spread out, not only does America have the duty to spread out, but nothing in the natural world, which is why plastic doesn't exist, it's not part of the natural world, nothing in the natural world can stop America from spreading out. What an ideal. What an ideal. Now, that's going to lead us, before today's conversation, to a significant amount of westward expansion. Right? This is the America's situation with the Louisiana Purchase Territory, all here. And we see a significant amount of what's called overland trails. A bunch of people settling westward. For example, the Oregon Trail, as settlers follow on their wagons to Oregon and settle there. The California Trail follows a very similar path and drops down into Northern California. The Mormon Trek, as the Mormons are going to flee religious persecution and settle in Salt Lake City, Utah. So there's a variety of people that are spreading out. Even Santa Fe, which is in modern-day New Mexico, and it's a very important trading hub or a trading center of American commerce. So before all this territory becomes America, there are significant American influences in these territories. Significant. Friggin' woman. So let's take a step back and talk politically. Now, we left off period 4. We left off period 4 politically, and who had just gotten elected? William Henry Harrison. And then what happened to him? Right? He got
Tippy Canoe.
He got old Tippy Canoe got by the pneumonia. Happens to the best of us. He got. So, 1 month after taking office, William Henry Harrison dies. What an actual loser, but not as much of a loser as Henry Clay. Now, at least he won the presidency.
Jennings Bryan.
William Jennings Bryan. Now, what party is William Henry Harrison from? He's a Whig. Yes. He's a Whig. And remember we talked about why it's important, because the Whigs took that Jacksonian play of running a war hero as a common man, the log cabin, hard cider campaign, right? And then he's dead. Maybe you shouldn't elect a president who brags about growing up drinking alcohol on the frontier. He's probably not the healthiest of people. I don't know. I wouldn't look at that as a good thing on somebody's resume, but who am I? Now, who takes over for him? Tyler 2. Yeah, Tippy Canoe and Tyler 2. So John Tyler takes over. Now, the problem becomes John Tyler is not Whiggish enough for the Whigs. Right? We'll call him this. He's a Whig light. Yeah, a Wiglet. He's like the Diet Coke version of the Whigs. Yes, sir. What? To me? Here. No, that's all right.
All right. He was the president without a party.
All right.
President without a party.
Yes. So Tyler is a Whig light. He's not really a Whig, an all-in Whig, in that he's going to support Clay's American system and banks and all these things. But he's also not really a Democrat anymore either, because he's very anti-Jackson. So he used to be a Democrat. He left the Democrats, one of those people that left after Jackson's bank war and the like. So he leaves the Democrats, and now he's a Whig. Is he really a Whig? Yeah, he's not a Whig, he's not a Democrat. So the problem becomes that he's kind of like a president without a party. He's a partyless president. Now, William Henry Harrison, as a Whig, do the Whigs like a strong national government or a weak national government?
Strong.
Strong, right? But the Whigs also were really anti-Jackson. Because they like a strong national government, but they don't want a strong executive. They want most of the power to live where? Yeah, in legislative, in Congress, right? We're going to give the power to the national government strong, but we're going to make sure that it's Congress that has the power. So that's William Henry Harrison promises to defer a lot of power and decision-making to the leaders of Congress, the Whigs like Henry Clay and Daniel Webster. It's one of the reasons why the Whigs support him, because they know that he's going to do what they want and give Congress a lot of power. Now, Tyler doesn't want to do that, because Tyler's only a Whig light. Clay in Congress tries again to re-charter the bank after Jackson had killed it. Tyler vetoes it. Clay and Webster try to put together some infrastructure bills for the national government to pay for some roads and improvements. Tyler vetoes it. So he's not really a Whig, he's a Whig light. The Whigs, I didn't know this was even a thing, the Whigs vote him out of their party. They kick him out. They vote him off the island. I know, the Whigs have their national convention, the party leadership, and they kick him out of their party. Most of his cabinet resigns. So his Secretary of State quits, his Secretary of the Treasury quits, his Secretary of War quits, his whole cabinet resigns, and he literally serves his entire presidency with no party and nothing to do. We talk about boring presidencies, and we've talked about a few boring presidencies. I'm going to say that John Tyler's presidency is probably the most boring of all presidencies until the last 6 days. Until the last 6 days. Now, John Tyler, he doesn't have congressional support. The Democrats don't support him. The Whigs don't support him. So he just gets to hang out in the White House for 4 years. Well, not 4 years. 3 years and 333 days.
Yeah.
Because Harrison, 32 days back, yeah. So, Tyler doesn't do much. But while this is all happening, a bunch of other developments are taking place that are going to kind of all come to a head. The first is Texas's independence. Now, let's talk about some good background information that's not on the slide, so you have no point looking at it. Just look at me, listen to me, write your answer, read your eyes. Now, what country was Texas in originally?
Mexico.
False, Spain.
Mexico.
So Texas is part of New Spain, and then Mexico overthrows their Spanish rule and becomes an independent country. Go Mexico. Right? They do what America does in Great Britain. They overthrow their colonial leaders and they make their own country. Now, did America struggle when it first became a country? Yeah, right? Weak government, Articles of Federation, like loose control, a little bit of chaos, like not great. Mexico is going through the exact same thing. Right? It's hard to be a brand new country. It's hard to do these things from scratch. Mexico is going through the exact same thing. And Mexico is freaking massive. Mexico is a big country now. Mexico then is significantly larger. And it can be very challenging as a brand new country to try to control a huge amount of population. Does that make logical sense to you guys?
Yes.
So what happens with Texas is the Mexican government is going to start inviting in white settlers. Let's go back to my map here. Here's Texas. And they're going to start inviting in white settlers. Now, what are some of the good things? Why would Mexico invite these white settlers? What are some of the benefits of adding white settlers to Texas? What? Trade. Right? That's going to bring in more money, more commerce. Good. What else why else might Mexico have wanted to bring in these white settlers?
They're farmers.
They're farmers. Yeah, sure. Production, good. You're back on my good side. What else? Other reasons, other benefits to adding this a variety of white settlers to Texas. Maybe ideas. What else do people bring when they move? Diseases, sure. What else? Come on, guys. Think for me. If a bunch of people move to Texas, then Texas now becomes more blank. What? Populated, sure. What? Diverse, maybe. Stable. Right? Civil, like people bring stability. And if you're concerned about things like Indian attacks and development and infrastructure, then inviting white settlers is a great way to solve that. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. Now, what's maybe one of the downsides of inviting white settlers to Mexico? They're white. That's part of it. Isn't it hilarious to think about Americans immigrating to Mexico, which is what we're talking about right now? Yeah. What else? What are some of the other negatives or the downsides, guys, of inviting white settlers to Texas?
Trying to kick them out.
They're going to try to kick the Mexicans out?
Yeah.
That's what white people do, right? Good. What else? Now, are people going to move from Pennsylvania to Texas?
No.
Probably not, right? Who's going to move to Texas? Oh, maybe Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. So what we see is what Mexico wants in inviting white settlement is stability. And what they instead get is a bunch of slave culture migrating to Mexico. Now, Mexico has a couple rules. Rule 1, you got to speak Spanish. Got to speak Spanish. Are these white settlers from the South going to learn Spanish? No, they can barely speak English. Now, Rule 2, you got to be Catholic. Mexico is a Catholic country at the time. Are these white settlers from Mississippi going to convert to Catholicism? No, because Americans hate Catholics. It's one of the reasons why the Know Nothing Party exists and nativism. Now, what happens is Mexico is willing to look the other way and ignore the fact that you have white settlers who are not Catholic and do not speak Spanish settling because they think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Eventually, Mexico gets a little more stable. Mexico gets some new leadership, some new ownership, and they try to assert a little bit more tight control on Texas. Sound familiar? Like the British. And they say, yeah, sorry, we're not going to settle for not speaking Spanish. We're not going to settle for not being Catholic. Like, if you're going to live in Mexico, you're going to follow Mexico's rules. And the people of Texas revolt. And they have a very miniature revolution, the Texas Revolution or the Lone Star Rebellion, as the people of Texas rise up and try to overthrow the Mexican government's control over them. Now, tell me why this is ironic. Imagine going somewhere, willingly, choosing to go live in Mexico, and then when you're there, be like, man, Mexico sucks. I'm going to make this America. Think about that for a second. Like, people willingly went to Texas, part of Mexico, and then overthrew the Mexican government. Do you guys understand the irony here?
Yeah.
Now, It's a very small war with a couple important battles. I'm sure you guys have heard the Battle of the Alamo. Remember, the Alamo is still a caption or a phrase in Texas in which the Mexican army slaughters all the defenders of this small Texan town. Eventually, Sam Houston's army is going to capture the Mexican president and General Santa Anna, and they're going to force him to sign a treaty which gives Texas their independence. Now, at this time, Santa Anna has already been kind of exiled from Mexico, and he's not really the shot caller anymore, so he's signing away land that isn't his to sign away. Anyway, Texas is like, boom, we want our independence. We are now the Republic of Texas, or the Lone Star Republic, and Texas is now their own independent country. Check Texas out. Check Texas out. Now, how many of you guys have been in a relationship before? Some of you? All of you? Now, what happened? Michael's like, I had a girlfriend once. How many of you guys have ever heard of a couple who's, this is my favorite caption, my favorite line. Ever heard of a couple who's on a break? Right? It does not exist. Right? That does not exist, right? So in this case,
What was his name?
everyone's like calling each other out. Look,
Nunez, what was his name?
Really, I can't remember.
now, on a break. Now in this case, I'm gonna use a couple girlfriend boyfriend analogies. All right. So those of you who maybe are on a break, don't feel attacked. I'm not coming for you. But talk to me later. Don't be on a break. Now Texas thinks. Alexia, can you stand at the back? Oh yeah, you okay? I'll be the judge of that. Now, Texas thinks that they are a strong, independent man because they got rid of their Mexican wife. You with me? Texas is like, cool, we're free. And what do free single men do?
Cheat.
They can't cheat, they're single. Right? So Texas is gonna do Texas things. They're like, we're a free country, we can make our own deals, we can make our own trade situations, we can make our own partners, our own allies. We're a free country. And Mexico, good, shut up. Mexico thinks they're on a break. Mexico never recognizes the legitimacy of Texas being an independent country. They think they're fraudulent, pretend, broken up, and then eventually Texas is going to realize where they went wrong and come back. Does anybody ever come back? No. So, moral of the story, Texas is now an independent country, but Mexico doesn't like to think so. Did the same thing kind of happen with the U.S. and Great Britain? A little bit, right? Like they didn't respect us as neutrals. They're still impressing our sailors and doing whatever they wanted. Now, Texas is an independent country. Now, in their own mind, they have the treaty to back it up. Good for them. Life is good. But it is very shaky and unstable. They're going to reach out to the U.S. for help and assistance. They're going to reach out to European powers for assistance. England is pretty excited about Texas because Texas provides maybe some competition for the U.S. in terms of cotton production. Right? And competition makes prices go down a little bit. So England is excited about an independent Texas, which kind of scares America a little bit. America's concerned, like what happens if England becomes allies with Texas? That's not good for our politics. Anyway, what does Texas look like culturally? The U.S. or Mexico? U.S. The U.S. What does Texas look like demographically and politically? The U.S. or Mexico? The U.S. Mostly like the U.S. It's mostly white settlers. Listen, all these people that do the... I gotta bless myself. All these people that do the Texas Revolution, they're not Mexican. They're white settlers who went to Texas and then decided they wanted to be independent. So is it logical that Texas then become part of the United States? Think about it. If it looks like the U.S. and it smells like the U.S. and it acts like the U.S., wouldn't the next logical thing for Texas to then become part of the U.S.? All right, reasonable, reasonable. Now I ask you in your question, the Lone Star is a shaky nation. Why was the U.S. hesitant to annex Texas despite these cultural similarities? What does annex mean, first of all? To accept, to absorb, to add on. And the reasons are twofold. Reason one, the U.S. doesn't want to piss off Mexico. The U.S., for the first time and only time ever, does not want to piss off Mexico. Because we feel some camaraderie or some brotherhood with Mexico because they did to Spain what we did to England. Right? They're our next door neighbors. You don't really want to piss off your next door neighbor. It's a bad idea. You should gotta live there next to that fool. Right? Like if my dog shits on my neighbor's lawn, I always pick it up, so I don't want him to get angry. You don't want a bad neighbor. It's important. So that's reason one. Reason two, though, is slavery. America has this tenuous or unstable balance on slavery right now. Right? Post-Missouri Compromise, everything's cool, but America knows the minute we add more land, we reignite that same problem of what to do about slavery. And who's president? John Tyler. Oh. And what is John Tyler doing? Nothing. Not a damn thing. Now in 1844 becomes one of those single-issue elections. One of those single-issue elections. Much like 1832 was with the bank. Jackson's bank veto was like a single-issue election. In 1844, the election becomes a single-issue election, and that single issue is Westward Expansion. It's that easy. The Democrats are going to nominate a guy named James Polk. James Polk. And he, as a Democrat, you guys know the Democratic platform, pro or anti-expansion? Pro, right? Pro, huge pro-expansion. The Whigs are going to nominate some dude by the name of Henry Clay. So now you already know who lost. So what happens in this election is it really, Polk's trying to talk about like the bank and infrastructure and improvements and all these other things, and Polk's just like, we're going to expand. Polk's like, yeah, those are cool ideas, Henry, but like all I care about is American expansion. American expansion. I'm going to take that land. I'm going to take that land. I'm going to take that fool's land for sure. I'm taking it all. Not in James K. Polk's eyes.
54-40.
Now, James Polk's platform for his campaign is 54-40 or fight. Like literally, give us all the land or we'll fight you. And Clay's like, yeah, but the bank. And everyone's like, we don't care about the bank. You've been trying this for 30 years. Leave us alone on the bank. And Polk just comes out and he's like, cool, I'm going to drop the tariff, and also we're going to expand everywhere. Yeah, basically. So it becomes a single-issue election, and this is what the election looks like. Nice. Take a minute with your partner. What has America said in this election by voting the way they did? 1 minute, go.
She's like, what's America's Henry Clay?
You got She's got ribs, bro. What has America said with this election? All right, let me stop you guys there. Talk to me, please. Ms. Garcia. What has America said with this election?
Respect her.
Did they want to expand or they don't want to expand?
They want to.
They do. Where do we see the strongest support for expansion? The South and the West. Should that surprise us? No. Where do we see support for the Whig policies? New England, the Atlantic Seaboard, and Clay's own region. This is a good example of an election map that looks just the way you would expect it to look. It really, like, nothing here is surprising. Clay wins his region because this area of the nearer West likes infrastructure because they want to connect with the Eastern Seaboard. The opposite, the Federalists, same thing. The Whigs are strong in New England, where they always have been, and the Eastern Seaboard, and then everywhere else is very Democratic, very Polk-ish, very pro-expansion. Now, Polk wins the election, and that says, the statement there says, America wants to expand. Now, when Polk wins the election, who's still president? John Tyler. Now, how long do you have? I've told you this before. How much? You have a 3-month, what's that time period called? Lame duck. Lame duck, right? And Tyler's sitting around in the White House like, man, I'm about to leave the White House, and I'm going to look back on my legacy and be like, man, I didn't do shit. Tyler's like, man, I gotta do something. I gotta get something done. And what Tyler does, literally at the tail end of his presidency, is he sneaks this bill through Congress without any debate, without the proper channels with which you have to go a bill through. Most of Congress is out of town because their session is almost over. He sneaks through a bill. It's like a very Midnight Judges-esque move. See what I did there? And annexes Texas. And annexes Texas. Now, Mexico is furious. Because Mexico's like, what do you mean you annexed Texas? That's still part of us. And Texas is like, nah, bro, we're not on a break. We broke up. I'm single. And Mexico is furious because America now is dating their neighbor's ex. Right? Yeah. They were a cute couple, right? To be honest, like, nobody needs Texas. Nobody should have it. Texas should be its own country still, let's be honest. Now, Florida can go and fall into the ocean for all I care. Now, who's in the wrong here? Is America in the wrong?
Not really.
Is Mexico in the wrong? There's a treaty that was. Is Texas in the wrong?
No.
So who messed up? You guys think nobody's in the wrong?
No.
Who messed up here? You can say, yeah, South Carolina's the answer. Did Mexico mess up in allowing all this white settlement in Texas? Yeah, right? Did Texas itself mess up by willingly moving to Mexico and being like, Mexico sucks, we don't be part of Mexico anymore? Yeah, a little bit. And does the U.S. mess up in taking on their best friend's ex? It's never a good idea. It's one of the reasons I love teaching in a small school, because all y'all just start dating each other.
Incest?
It cracks me up, right? Literally, I'm going to call you guys South Carolina. Now, keep it in the family. So,
Incest?
tell me I'm wrong.
New Jersey?
Show me on the dollar what you like. Now, moral of the story, you can make an argument that all three parties are at fault, but it's the election of 1844 which leads directly to the annexation of Texas. So go ahead. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to answer the next two questions with your partner, because I've already gone over them, but I wanted to make sure that you heard everything before you actually answered. Take two. Tell me, what role does Westward Expansion play in the election of 1844? The role. And tell me why. Why does Clay lose again in the election of 1844? Well, take 2 minutes with your table and get both those questions answered, me, please. Now, go. Answer quick. Yeah, bro, anytime I can drop a line like that in the kids. Bro, my marker leaked this morning when I was teaching. It's all good. I'll wear this shirt never. Now it's a gym shirt. Cut the sleeves off. So I know, I love the shirt.
Yeah,
The quote is good.
Why do you remember that nation?
Which is hilarious coming from Teddy.
Uh-huh.
Whoa, Angel! Alright, so
Imperialism?
I'm sorry, it looked like you guys were done based on your conversation. When I take finish. Finish your questions. Why does he lose again?
Progressive?
I'll wear your guys' shirt. You want? That's our shirt. There's a quote from the Progressive PPU. Because you get these when you go grade AP tests.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, this is 2 years ago at Tampa.
So it was imperialism, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Bro, I still got it.
Evaluate the relative significance of the causes for expanding U.S. role in the world from 1865 to 1900. All right. So, tell me why does Clay lose again? Yeah, I would argue that Clay has a couple problems. I mean, it's Clay. But problem one, what is his nickname?
The Great
Compromiser. And when you are in the middle of a lot of compromises, don't you kind of set yourself up to be attacked by both sides? Right? Because your job is like find that middle ground, which can piss off that extreme and that extreme. So there's a good line, I think it was in your text, your read. I asked, like, in what way does Clay like compromise away the presidency? Right? Like Clay's way more well known than Polk. Clay's way more politically talented than Polk. But Clay is arguing for policies that would have been good for American politics 15 years prior. Clay's living in the past, so to speak. And Polk is living in the future. Polk realizes that America is very, very, very rapidly pro-expansion, and he capitalizes on that perspective in order to capture the electorate and get himself elected. So it's that. America wants to expand. Polk will not come out. Polk doesn't say he's anti-expansion, but he won't come out and say he's aggressively pro-expansion. So America goes the other direction. And that's kind of the way things work in a single-issue election like this. Good. All right, the next cartoon is awesome, but I don't have a question for it. I just want you to look at it with your partner and embrace it. Take a minute with your partner. What is this cartoon getting across? What is the perspective of this cartoon regarding the annexation of Texas? 1 minute, go. Use each other. It's on the board as well. I'll turn the light off so you can see it a little better.
Welcome, Texas.
Have it.
Welcome, brothers.
There you go.
Texas.
Oh, this cartoon.
Yeah, it's a good one.
The friend of
It's not top
our
20.
country.
Not even close.
What?
Is it top of
Yeah. It's top 40. Maybe 50.
Top 50? Bro, top 5, I can name it right now.
Top 20.
What? Guys, I'm going to stop you. I need you guys having a conversation about what this cartoon is doing. Take a minute, have a conversation. If not, I'll just talk at you. 1 minute, go. Come on. What do you see? What do you notice? What's happening? We got Rondo? All right, let me stop you there. Good. So let's talk about it. I'm going to say this cartoon doesn't make a pro or anti argument on Texas. It just kind of lays out the situation for us. So what's Polk doing? Welcome, Texas. Welcome, brothers. I believe that implies Polk is a terribly racist man. So the fact that Polk is saying welcome, brothers, implies that Texas is still a very, very white place, even though it was Mexico 4 years ago. Now, what are the Whigs doing? They're trying everything they can to keep Texas from joining the Union. All right, we have Clay. I don't know who this guy is. We got Webster, and then these two dudes are dead. They're trying really hard. And they're trying really hard to keep Texas from being added to the Union. Also worth noting is the bottom left corner. What does this barrel say? It says abolition. It says abolition, and writing that barrel is William Lloyd Garrison, our famous white abolitionist. I think making a point as the abolition barrel goes down the river, that the chance for abolition is now gone because we're going to spread slavery to Texas instead of confront the problem as it is. Yeah, this is a good cartoon. That little corner makes it a great cartoon. It's a great cartoon. Now, early on in Polk's presidency, we don't have a single problem with Mexico, except the fact that Mexico's really pissed at us because we stole their eggs. The big issue on Polk's presidency is actually Oregon. It's actually Oregon. I'll show you a map right now. That cartoon's great. You're going to enjoy that. If you guys recall way back in the day, we decided with the British we're going to share the Oregon Territory and we're going to deal with the problem later. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Part of the arrogant feelings, we're signing our treaties and whatnot, the Rush-Bagoa Treaty, Adams-O'Neese Treaty. We look at Oregon, we're like, we don't have anybody living there, the British don't have anybody living there, let's just figure it out later. Well, guess what? Later is here. Later is here. And Polk's campaign slogan of 54-40 or fight is this. This is the 54th parallel. That's the 54th parallel. So his argument in his campaign is like, we're going to take all of Oregon, or what? Or we're going to fight you. Or we're going to fight you. We're going to fight a freaking, according to Polk, we're going to fight a freaking war with England over this little Pacific Northwest corner of America, which seems, Revolutionary War round 3, over freaking Oregon. 54-40 or fight. Now, unfortunately, due to some pretty effective negotiation, both sides come together and they agree that why don't we just split it in the middle? Oh, look at that. Look at America go. Look at Great Britain solving our problems how? Diplomatically. The U.S. and the British peacefully agreed in 46 to set the permanent border at the 49th parallel, right in the middle, which gives us our northern border with Canada, and now America finally has a clear border all the way to the Pacific Ocean for the first time. Again, this is another example of the U.S. solving its problems with the British diplomatically. The Rush-Bagoa Treaty, the Webster-Ashburton Treaty, the Lumberjack, the Erster War. Would you guys say this demonstrates more continuity or change? Why do you say both, right?
Because before they wouldn't be taken seriously and would have to fight a war over like land and Britain, and recently there were some treaties with them.
Good. So short-term continuity, long-term change? Yeah, I'm going to argue that this is a good continuity, like really post-era of good feelings, post-war of 1812. That like with our problems with England, our problems with France, our problems with Spain are solved through diplomatic means, whereas before that, war would have been the only option. Now I want you to think about something before we move on. I want you to think about something before we move on. What does it say about America that America solves their problems with the British diplomatically, but then fights a war with Mexico? Don't answer me, just think for a second. What does it say about American society that we solve our problems with Great Britain through diplomacy? We fight a war over our problems with Mexico. Take a minute, talk to your partner. Have a conversation about that. What do you think about that? There's not a right answer, it's just an opinion question. What does that say? What is the implication?
Yeah, look at this.
Yeah, the war with Mexico.
Yeah. What does it say we respect? Yeah, like we negotiate with the British like equals. And we try to do the same with Mexico, and they don't negotiate with us, we just fight them. I think it says a lot. I think there's a lot of like meat on that bone. All right, let me stop you guys there. Now have a good cartoon. It's gonna make you smile. It's gonna make you smile. Take a minute with your partner. What is this cartoon's point of view or perspective regarding the U.S.-British beef? No pun intended. What is this cartoon getting at? Bro, look at Josue and Luis. This is a good one.
That is not top 10.
No, not even close. I didn't even bother to print it on the freaking paper.
Yeah.
It's just an enjoyable perspective. This one is though. I think this is top 10.
Ooh, I remember.
So who's drawing this cartoon? England or America? Exactly, right? Because it makes America civilized. Alright, stop you guys there. Real quick, would you argue this cartoon comes from a British or an American point of view? British, right? This cracks me up. Right? Look at it, he looks almost like, oh, you poor little thing. You're so cute. Right? It was such a nice try. Right? And who is this supposed to represent? Polk. Thank you. And then he's like almost like a frontier, like disheveled cowboy-looking dude ready to fight. 54-40 or fight, trying to fight the British. And the caption is great. What? You young Yankee Noodle, which is of course a play on words on the very patriotic American song Yankee Doodle. Yankee Doodle went to town. Yeah, exactly, right? Which is an American patriotic song. So it takes like that American patriotism and turns it into noodle. How are noodles? Flimsy, weak, soft, breakable, chewable, delicious. Yeah, right? Angel Guzman is literally the noodle of humans. Look, he's a noodle. What, you young Yankey Noodle, strike your own father? Literally, England's asking America, who's your daddy? That's what it says. Oh, really? You're gonna strike your own father? And this is where Yasmin gets really sensitive. Now, of course, we don't actually fight. We settle at 49th parallel, and then the Oregon settlement dispute problem is solved. There it is. Right? We divide it up. America gets to keep everything south of here. The British get to keep that in Canada, and then all is well. Now, it's important that I stress to you guys that, like, which I already did earlier in the conversation, way before the U.S. gets Texas, gets California, gets all this new territory, way before we get all that, the U.S. is already really, really influential in Mexico economically. Now, Mexico is a brand new country. Knowing what you guys know about history, are brand new countries stable economically? No. So Mexico is going to rely a lot on U.S. trade, a lot on U.S. commerce, a lot on U.S. capital, a lot on U.S. investment. For example, New Mexico, I showed you guys Santa Fe earlier on that map. New Mexico is a very thriving hub of trade with the U.S. The U.S. is sending a lot of business people to New Mexico for trade. The traders and the shippers of New England are going to be very, very dominant in the economy of California, which is still part of Mexico. And as we talked about earlier, the Southerners are going to spread the plantation system or the plantation economy into East Texas. So before the U.S. takes Mexico, the U.S. has already been very influential in Mexico's economy. Now I have a line for you. It's from our friend again, John L. O'Sullivan. I'm going to give you a minute to write and respond on your own into what O'Sullivan is saying here. Mexicans must amalgamate and be lost in the superior vigor of the Anglo-Saxon race, or they must perish. Take a minute, respond. It's just like I don't need a correct answer. I need you just to respond to what O'Sullivan is really saying here. 1 minute, go. On your own. No, figure it out. I mean, figure it out.
Big nips.
I need you to write. I need you to respond. Americans must. Go ahead. Oh. I've been fighting the weather. It's hot. It's dry. We've been like fighting the cold. What's up? Go ahead. I need a response from everybody. You can figure out what it means. Yup. All right, let me stop you guys there. What is O'Sullivan saying here? What is O'Sullivan saying here? Let me go back to. What is O'Sullivan's point? Yeah, Mexicans to leave, maybe not leave, but instead die. Talk to me.
So I think it's saying that Mexicans have to submit or obey, if not, they're gonna die.
Submit or obey. Amalgamate means to be combined, basically, or to be absorbed into. So it is that Mexicans better, to Arcelo's fantastic point, Mexicans better get used to submitting, or their other option is to die. As a country, as a people, as an ideology, as a society, as a culture. So our friend John L. O'Sullivan here, I told you earlier he's a racist. I'm not wrong. So what America does is America sends an envoy or a negotiator or a diplomat. And we're going to try to solve our problems with Mexico also diplomatically. But quick question, do we have problems with Mexico? Yes. Does Mexico have problems with us? Yes. So his name is John Slidell, and he's sent to Mexico City by Polk. And Polk tells him, go to Mexico City and buy California. Go to Mexico City and buy California. So he goes to Mexico City, and he tells them the Mexican government won't even negotiate with him. Why? Because California is not for sale.
How much?
A lot of money, $25 million. Just wait. The Polk government's willing to go up to $50 million to buy California. And I know. And Mexico's like, that's cool, bro. I'm glad you showed up here with this briefcase full of money, but like, Mexico's not for sale. California's not for sale. What if I went home today and I was sitting on my couch grading your terrible ass SAQs, and my neighbor knocks on my door, and he comes and he's like, "I'm here to buy your house." To which I say, "Well, I live. Yes, first, how much? But second, like I live here. It's not for sale." Do I have to sell my neighbor my house?
No.
No.
If the price is right.
If the price is right, and also if I have other options, right? But do I have to sell it to him? No, absolutely not. Mexico refuses to even negotiate because they're like, first of all, we hate you. You're dating our ex, so don't even speak to us. We're not friends anymore. Second of all, it's not. Yeah, literally. Sloppy seconds with Texas. Texas is pretty sloppy.
Yo.
It's not for sale. We're not friends, so don't even try to negotiate with us. We don't have a diplomatic relationship anymore. And also, while you're here, that border that Texas says is their border, that's inaccurate. Texas isn't as big as Texas thinks. So a lot of that land Texas says is theirs, it's not actually their land. And I'll show you what that looks like on a map in a second. So here it is. Take a look at my map here real quick. The United States government says that the Texas border is here at the Rio Grande. All the way to that river. Cool? There's the border. Mexico says, actually, you're wrong. The border is the Nueces River, which is right here. And Mexico goes all the way to the Nueces River. There's the border. What's the problem with this situation? What's the problem with this situation? Who's right? Who cares? Does it matter who's right? If the U.S. says our land goes all the way to that river, and the Mexican government says no, our land goes all the way to that river, does it matter who's right? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Regardless, this is what we consider in history disputed territory. Mexico says it's theirs. America says it's theirs. We see that as well. One of the causes of the French and Indian War is the Ohio Valley. The British say it's theirs. The French say it's theirs. It's not the first time this has happened. So the problem becomes the U.S. first tries to buy California. And what does Mexico say? No, not for sale. Is there anything we can do about it? Question for you guys. Honest question. Is I want that land a good enough reason to declare war on somebody?
No.
No, it's not.